Hi, welcome everybody. My Sports Chat. Week 7. We'll be discussing Michigan's victory over Indiana, 31-10 on Saturday, and then we're going to get to the first real big game of the year, if you don't count the first road game against Iowa. So we're going to get to that and get our thoughts on that. So first thing first, Indiana 31-10, but the story to me was 10-10 at halftime. Tom, what do you think happened?
Well, I think the Mike Hart thing was pretty big relative to the situation they were dealing with. We came out in that first drive like we've done so well in the last few games to go right down the field and score. And I think some of it also is the play calling changes instead of staying with what got you there. And the defense is making adjustments, but I think we kind of went into a little bit of a shell, and then when the Mike Hart thing happened, and if I remember correctly, it was the start of the second quarter or in that general area.
Right during that break, I think.
Yeah, and man, the kids look terrible. I mean,
Yeah,
they're showing players crying on the sideline. The coaches are trying to chat with them, and even Harbaugh, as Harbaugh went out to talk to Mike as he was being carted off, he kind of was hanging his head as he went back to the huddle. I think the whole energy and in the room had disappeared, and I really think that had a bigger effect than anyone is giving the kids credit for. And Joel Klatt made a great comment this week. He said, when players step on the field and the coin is tossed, when that game starts, you're in a completely different zone. You don't care about anything else going on in the world. And then the real world comes back and hits you right between the eyes while you're playing. And it happens when players get injured too. But this case, this was a pretty special guy, especially for the running backs and the whole running attack, the offensive line and everyone. I think it had a huge effect, and so did Joel. He said it was really good to see what Michigan did when they came out after halftime and kind of went back to what they could do. And we all heard that Mike Hart contacted them and either through Harbaugh or in some fashion communicated with the team and said, "Hey, I'm all right. Just go out and do your business." And when you got to the end of the game and you watched the post games, the players were fine.
right.
But they were in bad shape there for a while.
I
think that was the problem in the first half.
I know it's easily you can eat. It's a great reason. And I'm saying reason, not excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see your two top running backs crying on the sideline,
Yep.
that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
They're looking at big picture stuff, not what's happening in the football game.
Yeah, I'd like to see the running stats for the second quarter. I bet they were really bad. I think the defense was okay in the second quarter, but our running attack was very poor. And we're not even talking about how JJ felt about it. He seems to be a pretty upbeat kid, but again, this is Mike Hart, so
right.
I think it would have had a much bigger effect than anyone will ever know.
Agreed, Pat. What do you think?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Tom related to the injury on a field. You bring that card out, you ambulance or put up someone on a stretcher. I think it takes, the players, obviously, it's teammate, a little while. But when you're talking about a leader on the sideline, a coach, I think the factor amps up even a little bit more. And we saw that in the, like you touched on, the reaction from the guys, just getting themselves through that, locking it out. Obviously it took a little longer maybe. And then hearing at halftime, them getting the word that he was, doing better and the team came out, whether or not that created the third and fourth quarter, it's in the scoreboard, I guess. But yeah, I mean, the team played well. As far as the game goes, I touched on last week, Indiana sometimes can create a scare over the years with Michigan for some reason, just like there's teams that struggle against teams. You play against them. It could be Ohio State against Penn State, or even Michigan State against some Minnesota or whatever. They just have that team that they always seem to, man, why do we struggle with those guys? And I think Indiana might be that team that we
Yeah.
got through it. Third quarter, fourth quarter were fun to watch because the
Yeah.
defense.
So I like your point about the, what happens when a player gets injured, and the difference is the player's injured, the whole team is, yeah, they're upset, but they're also like, okay, next man up.
Right.
Mhm.
Let's get this next guy ready to go.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
there's not a next man up on when
Well,
it's coach.
I said this to Pat when I was watching the game with him. The minute that they showed the sideline again at a break, who was standing right there with his hand on the shoulder of the running backs was Fred Jackson. And I'm like, Freddie's been around for 100 years, and I was thrilled that he was there.
Time.
And apparently they got a waiver for him. I just heard about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Waiver, so he can now
Stepping in.
coach. You can't have a better backup, especially knowing that Mike's okay. So
Right.
Was
what's
he Hart's coach? Was he Hart's running backs coach?
I believe so.
I think, yeah.
It's, yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah,
there.
because it was
years.
Lloyd
Yeah.
Carr still.
Yeah, I think he was there for years and years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, again, I mean, you look at it and okay, yeah. So there's something catastrophic that happens to a extremely popular player / now coach.
Mhm.
And one that they're obviously very tight with. And then once they know that he's okay, it's blowout city basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I'm thinking. JJ throws 300 yards for his first time. Tom, you've been talking about his poise.
Yeah.
How do you think he looked?
I go back to what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. I love watching the offense look calm and stable. They were not as calm and stable. We had a number of false start penalties. We had a couple of holding penalties. We had a whole bunch. And I said this to Pat, what's the over under on pass interferences before the game starts? Because they throw the ball so much. And we had a bunch.
Yeah.
But you can fight through 10 penalties. That's a big number. That's Oakland Raiders back in the day, when they
Yeah.
penalties and still pummel people.
Yeah.
But I thought that they were not as calm, but JJ was. And I don't know. I didn't see JJ get rattled. I mean, his pick that he threw obviously was tipped. It wasn't a perfect throw. It wasn't out in front of him far enough, and it might have been a great catch otherwise. But he had a couple of players drops, and if you take away his pick and take away his drops, I think he only has 3 incompletions. So that's staggering for someone that threw the ball 35 or 36 times.
28 for 36, 28 for 36, 304, 3 touchdowns.
Now we're hearing this week that he didn't throw the ball in the air more than 20 yards anywhere. Yeah.
Actually, he did, and he was 0 for 3.
And you know what? I really don't care. I mean,
okay. Let me interrupt you here. Here's my thing. We're doing a little dink and dunk stuff.
Yep.
I don't see why we can't live in the middle. We don't have to throw 50-yard passes, but we don't have to throw 5-yard passes either. I do with the receivers that we have, with the offense that we have, everybody, linemen, receivers, JJ, even Corum blocking. You have you could live with 15-yard outs all day and just go throw 5 passes and have a touchdown every time.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not that easy, but it seems like it could, and we're not doing that for some reason. That's the maddening thing for me. I'm cool with not hitting long bombs every game, but I don't see why we can't sit there and live in that 15 to 20-yard completion range.
Well, he had a few.
He does. No, he does.
Andrew Anthony had 2 of them. I thought Andrew Anthony played a great game.
Yeah. It goes back to the you got to throw deep a few times to keep them honest and keep the guys. So I think that's part of the strategy too. Is you're going to air them out every so often. I've been watching the GOAT at Tampa Bay. He'll chuck 2 or 3 a game down the field, whether it's even close or it hits. Some reason that's strategy. I think sometimes that it frees up things inside, or the hits. If it doesn't, obviously they're still going. They got the scripted plays.
Right.
Another thing to think of is how did Michigan beat Ohio State last year? They didn't beat Ohio State by throwing bombs. Now, they did throw one big pass to Cornelius, and he caught it down by the goal line. But you know what? We did not beat Ohio State by throwing bombs. We beat Ohio State by throwing a lot of short stuff, a lot of intermediate stuff, and running them to death and chewing up clock. Every time I turn on Ohio State, if I turn them on while a Michigan game's on or another game's on and I'm watching, within like 3 seconds, they've either just scored or they're going to score again. They go down the field so quick, and they're so good. And you can't take it away from them. But we can't get in a 49-49 game with them. It's not a winning situation.
No.
It's funny to say that about the Ohio State game, like, because in comparison, like when they play at the same time, Ohio State's like 15 minutes behind. Like it's halftime and you go to their game and it's 12 minutes left in the second half or in the second quarter.
They're so good. They're so
good. They stop play every time.
All right. So we knew going into it with the defense, or with Indiana's offense rather. Our defense would get tested with a couple things. We'd get tested with tempo, and we'd get tested with a short wide receiver types, short routes, quick dumps, and screen passes.
Yeah.
So we were lucky to hold them to 10 in that first half.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't see, like, I knew that that's what they were going to do. And the team seemed confused by it.
Yeah, very much so.
There were alignment issues. I mean, there was numerous times where they split out 4 guys and we have 3.
At most. There was a couple times when we had 2 and we were waiting for somebody inside to get out there.
Right. So it didn't seem like we didn't seem prepared for that. Now, second half we were.
Yep.
Second half we were rushing only 4, 7 people, switching coverages, putting them near the line of scrimmage, disrupting the whole thing. And they gained what?
We had our
28 yards in the second half.
Right.
Something like that. I don't know.
We were right in front of them on every play in the second quarter. We were not playing off of them like we were in the first half. I mean, we were so far off in the first half. It was so easy to dink and dunk.
Yeah.
How many times did we have a defender come close to tackling someone or tackle them in the backfield or behind the line of scrimmage on that same screen pass? We had 3 of them, 2 or 3 of them.
Right.
Out there, next thing you know, you got 2 guys on them.
No, in the first half, there's one where they have 3 guys wide. We have 2 guys and they're playing about 10 to 12 yards back from the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
The 2 blockers just run out there and they don't even have a chance to hit anybody before the ball's complete. And now the guy has 8 yards before he even reaches his blockers.
Yeah.
And then he ends up going, reaches the blockers, goes around them, and then somebody else comes over and pushes him out of bounds after about 15 or 16 yards.
Yep.
I mean, it was just ridiculous. But they made the adjustment. I just don't know why I knew what they were doing it. I don't know what I'm talking about most times.
Right.
And I knew that's what they were going to do. It looked like in the first half, I mean, it was only 10-10, but it looked like it could have been a 48-48 game like you were talking about.
Right. I agree.
And to Pat's point that we've played with them in the past.
Yep.
We there's so many things that, obviously as a fan, we watch, but there's such technology. I think even at halftime, when you go in there and you can finally sit them down all as one and you get your breakout in your groups, obviously you get a sideline chance too, but maybe sometimes it doesn't get quite communicated as not quiet, but an organized locker room for 15 minutes or whatever the halftime time is. And the videos they can show and bring up on a screen and see where the linemen, even it might have got down to the offensive linemen, how they were doing their gaps that we weren't getting through. And all of a sudden now we're getting a little bit more pressure, which is causing that quarterback to think something different. Or we might have even changed our look just a touch, whether we changed the way we lined up and switched out. I mean, there's a lot of things that play in that first half to second half kind of thing. And I just, it was great to see it. I'm glad that, I was wondering if Minder would be able to do it. I know he did it against Maryland a little bit. He did it against, Iowa. I mean, obviously was pretty handle. But this one here in Indiana, he finally, second half, bang, we put the boom down on him.
Yeah, I hope that this is not a Minter problem. where he's going to be struggling with analyzing and making that kind of change. You know, last year McDonald didn't make that change against Michigan State. That cost us a game.
Right.
And he went the entire game without figuring out what to do to stop the running back and to stop the stupidity of the too many men on the field. And you know, I thought they did a few things different, and they were very good when Indiana changed the player.
Yeah.
Indiana would swap someone out, and then
Remember that? Yeah, that was early on.
Farthest spot away from the sideline, and he would basically trot his way across the field while the play clock is running.
Right. No, that was great.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was clearly tactical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
So
that was
somebody
like-
knew it and they were thinking about that.
Yeah,
And
we
they
thought
did
about it.
that. And they
Yep.
did it great.
Yep.
And even the one time where they had too many men or illegal
yeah.
substitution was, you know, kind of a BS call.
It was a
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
call.
enough time.
So,
The announcer said it was a bad call because we are allowed to get our guy off.
right.
Yeah.
I think it's so great that they just said, like, okay, we got our guy.
Yeah.
Well, that
He's a
too
slow guy.
Yeah.
And he's
That gives
taking
him
his
an
time.
extra few minutes to communicate to the sideline while he's running off. You know, the guys upstairs in that press box
Yeah.
can see what the lineman is that Indiana's in
And
communicate it down, and they could quickly gesture it into the
the
sideline.
play
I mean,
clock
maybe.
was
I don't know.
running. The play
I
clock
think
was running. They
Yep.
don't stop the play clock at all. The play clock was running. If you're gonna sub, we're gonna sub.
you're gonna see 60 teams do that this week.
I think you're gonna see it all over the
That's
place.
that's gonna be the
Indiana's-
new way.
Indiana's adjusting right now to how to do that.
No, they absolutely. That's the new way
they're gonna have to adjust to that.
it's the new fake injury
Yeah, that too.
to help slow them down. If you sub, we sub, and we do it slowly.
Do it
So-
that way we want.
Strategically,
Sorry,
Sub
buddy
late.
boy.
If you sub late in the play clock, you're gonna be in trouble because that other team
Yeah.
is gonna take their time and you're not gonna have any time left on the clock. So
Yep.
don't sub late. Don't sub late. That's
Yep.
that you're right, Griff. That is absolutely gonna happen. Yep.
good point there.
All right. So, any last thoughts about Indiana till next year?
Goodbye, Indiana.
Yeah.
We're done. Glad to see you go.
See you at
Like-
Assembly Hall. Is it Assembly Hall time?
Yeah, well, you never know.
Oh,
Might
yeah.
come down to
There
Assembly
you go.
Hall. That's a different story. We have to think about that one.
I will dismiss Indiana with what an Indiana person said to me in 1991 when I went to the game and we were walking back after like a 38-3 game where half filled stadium.
Yeah.
He goes, "We'll see you on the hard court in January." Very
Well,
cool guy.
Very cool.
Yes, we will.
It sounds a lot like the Sparties today. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Remember they used to point to hockey before they got really good at basketball?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be like, "Oh, wait till we play in hockey." It's like, please. Anyway, all right. So Penn State,
Yep.
our huge game, top 10 matchup.
Yep.
They're 5-0. Michigan's favored by a touchdown. They're at home. May's out. That always sounds weird to me. May's out.
Yeah.
But to be perfectly honest, I also don't like Big House, and I also don't like the game for the OSU game.
Mhm.
So maybe I'm just old crotchety guy, but
You really are there, Griff.
yeah, maybe
They're like the
old
white
school,
belt.
man.
Like the white belt too, Mike.
1 o'clock games.
Right.
Yeah, white. Yeah, wow.
Don't
Don't get me
each
going on
other
the
at
white,
1 o'clock.
the white belt. Yeah,
Yes.
remember the games used to be
Yep.
1.
Yep.
So yeah, I want 1 o'clock games. We get there at 9:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
The whole
yeah. So
team.
you got Sean Clifford running things again at quarterback. He's there. He's there. It's at least his 5th year,
At least.
Yeah.
legitimately.
Well, that
I
also
don't think
shows
he's a
you-
super senior, but I think he's a redshirt senior.
But that does
um,
show you.
I think he handed off to Kajana Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not that good of a quarterback because he's in his 5th year out of college. I'm sorry. That's
Yeah, right,
in today's world. If you're any good, you're not there for 5 years.
right.
Never.
So I saw something on a web page where they were like, "Oh, the freshman contribution chart." I'm like,
Yep.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they're really good, they're gone.
Doesn't matter. Yep.
They're never, we're not going to burn we're not that type of school.
No.
And we'll have high threes and a bunch of 4 stars, the occasional 5 coming in year after year after year.
And if
That
you're
guy's
gonna-
not going to be, he's not going to get the opportunity to contribute in his redshirt senior year.
No, if they're not
So-
gone by then, yeah, it's unless it's an injury related thing and they miss some major time, then no, they're very average. And Sean Clifford, Spencer Petras, and several others.
Tanner Morgan.
Exactly. Now he's in his 6th year.
Yeah.
And when he doesn't have that running back, he tends to struggle. So
Yeah, exactly.
I-
Weird how that goes.
I'm
Yeah.
not wowed by Clifford. Obviously, they have a reasonable running game, but I think, to be honest, our defense is geared to stop the run. Now they're going to have to do something different than they've been doing to run on us. I mean, let's be really honest, guys. You tell me, how many times have we had a nose tackle make a tackle on a running back, maybe right at the line or a yard behind the line, in our history of watching Michigan football?
Yeah, it really doesn't happen.
Never. And you see it in the pros all the time. You get one of the big guys out there, and Mazzy Smith is doing it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if he's double teamed, that he's
He's,
going through people. He's amazing.
He is the guy. He gift from God is Harbaugh.
He is. And I don't expect to see him next year. I think he's going
Right.
to, he's got a chance to make a lot of money in another league, and good for him.
Did you see the video of him hopping up the stairs?
Is that unbelievable?
I
couldn't
even do that.
crawl up those stairs. That the stairs are so high, I couldn't crawl up them.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Yeah.
No, my dogs couldn't do that. I mean, so yeah. So if he's if Clifford's a big senior, you have your running backs. You got a 5-star and a 4-star running back, both freshmen, leading the team. Yeah, I mean, that's great. They're going to be young. They're going to run around, but can they handle blitz packages? Can they block that guy when he gets through?
Exactly.
Mezzie Smith.
I think the
And
key
when
factor.
he gets free and comes in, come on, they can't block these guys. There's no way.
Yeah. I think the key factor for Penn State is Manny Diaz, the new defensive coordinator. I think that's the guy that's made this team, Penn State, become what they've become. He's part of the reason. I think their defense is improved and stabilized. And I think just looking at that, that's going to be Michigan's big hurdle. That's probably be, everybody talked about Iowa and Iowa's defense, but I think Penn State's defense is probably going to be the toughest one we've seen all year.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think
I don't know. I mean, Iowa's pretty damn good. Manny Diaz, you bring up a great point, Pat. Manny Diaz, I've been following him for a while, and there must be something that he does that his message either lands or it doesn't land.
Yeah.
Because he was phenomenal at Mississippi State.
Yep.
And then he goes to Texas and they fired him like mid-season.
Yeah.
And then where'd he go after that?
Florida, Miami, Florida.
I think it was, well, was he there as a defensive coordinator or was he there as a head coach?
He was defense and became head coach.
Okay. So then, and he didn't do great there.
Franklin grabbed him as soon as he came on
right.
the
So he
thing.
seems to be in his sweet spot as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when he's on, there's not many better.
There's some ends there. I think they've almost adopted the Michigan approach with those ends that come hard. You gotta watch that and see what we do in that strategy. I think that defensive front they talked about as being one of the better ones in the Big Ten.
Well,
I mean, they always have the players.
Yeah. And this goes back to what you were saying before, Griff. We can make a lot of short passes and have success and move the ball. I don't care if he doesn't throw a ball more than 9 yards on Saturday. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because if he gets it past the line and gets it to the linebackers or deeper, we will get a ton of yards. Our blocking by wide receivers is better than anybody I've ever seen. We're so good at it. And that's why our tight ends have been spectacular. And, okay, so I think that if we go to the play action, which of course Clint talks about it every week, that we don't do enough play action, and freeze those linebackers and make those safeties concerned about what we're going to do, I think we'll have a lot of success against them. And I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm not saying we didn't show any of that because we were waiting for this game. You know what? I don't think that's the case.
I think that's a bunch of crap. Everyone says that every year when we're bland on offense, and we're bland on offense every year. And to your point, we were bland on offense against Ohio State last year.
You saw
Exactly.
Indiana.
So
Indiana stuffed the box with 7 or 8 guys there in that first half. I kept
got 8
saying,
or 9.
and they had a ton of guys in the box forcing us to throw the ball, and we did, and then we broke loose with Corum. Still had 125 yards.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just like, pick your poison. Like I said at the beginning of the year, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to pick your poison and stop Corum. We're going to throw it. You're going to take away the receivers and put 6 or 7 DBs back there. We're going to run it. So I think that boils down to probably be the deciding factor here.
All right, so Pat, what happens?
Yeah, I see another great game between Penn State and Michigan. I think we got the maze out, we got the flyover, we got some other stuff.
The Lloyd Tunnel. We got the
Lloyd Tunnel. I mean, we got we're bringing out the gold medal Phillips, Michael Phelps. I mean, there's a lot of things. That place is going to be hopping, and if we can keep that momentum going, I mean, I still think probably like a 28-24, maybe a 28-21. I mean, it seems kind of low, but I mean, I think we'll pull it away and win by at least a touchdown.
All right, Tom, what do you think?
I think we'll score 27-28. We will get stopped. I would assume that Penn State's defense will show and make some plays, but I do think we still get to that 28 number. And I don't think that Clifford is good enough to get them past 17. I just don't see it.
I agree.
Our defensive backs are very good. Our linebackers are probably the most average. But our line is we're 11 deep across that line. It's unreal.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking more at like a 28-14 type thing, 2-score game.
Yep.
Kind of like a Maryland gap without them scoring that late touchdown.
Yep.
Something like that. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's been a great game, I think.
So yeah, any other things you're looking at? Anything special? Anyone gonna bust loose?
Let's hope our missing special teams people don't come into factor this week. Snapper and our other guys.
Yeah. I just want to make sure let's not make any mistakes. I don't want to see more than 2 or 3 penalties. I think that's the big thing for me is let's get back to that steady play. And I thought our cornerbacks, they did not turn around. The passes were too quick for them. And, Penn State's not a fool. They probably saw some of this and they'll try a lot of that.
Yeah.
It surprised me again if we pick up, and what's the over under on pass interference? I'm going to go 2.5. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we pick up 3 pass interference calls in this game. Not in the least, or defensive holding or something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Good game.
All right. Well, very good.
Be a barn burner.
Yep.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for participating again. And thanks anybody who's watching my sports chat, and go blue.
Go blue.
All right. We'll see you next week.